Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next product.
Hello and welcome to the Hypertrophy Odyssey, chapter 338. It is the fourth day of the week, aka the Buster Cannon workout. I am feeling pretty good right now on the way to the gym. But anyways, to the main subject matter for today. In our last look into the four horsemen of the apocalypse, I don't want to say what this one is very particularly. Well, actually, to put it in perspective, the last one isn't necessarily the worst one. I think the last one that was the worst one was this one right here, the previous episode about the corn industry. I think that this one is more so along the lines about overconsumption. Overconsumption is something that I feel like has been a running theme on a lot of these. So I have already done an episode about gluttony right here, and I think I've kind of held it within a certain realm of maybe like the physical eating aspect of it, and I touched upon the idea of gluttony in the sense that you are consuming too much. But I think the overconsumption of everything now is probably in part the issues with a lot of things happening in society, regardless of where you're at. I think that even things that we are consuming a little too much of, let's say content on the internet, or even just something like food, drinks, drugs, alcohol, pornography, those types of things, you're just consuming it a little too much. But even then, there are things that are consuming you that are warping your brain, stuff like your phone and things like that, social media. I think that overconsumption in itself is its own thing, because although I could have said the phone being an issue, this is the future, and it is also unfortunate that we have to use this, but also just because you don't have this doesn't mean you can't overconsume on other things, you know? And I think that that's the main thing. People unplug from this but overconsume something else, and they can make it so it becomes either a way of life, or it's not just the phone, and it's not just the social medias on it and, you know, consuming slop and all that other stuff. But we will talk about slop later. So I think that it is important to just kind of round it out with this, because this is a baseline for most stuff. I think that without this, most of these other things are still problems, but they're not nearly to the degree that they become because of the overconsumption, because of the just necessary, or the need to have more and more and more, and for that to rise and basically go in at infinitum, really. So I think that that's where we're going to look at how overconsumption really plays into other people's worlds, really, and how there's nothing really that we can, we'll look into what we can do and how we can maybe stop it, but realistically, because of how easy it is and how many people's natures are and how things have been designed in order to make it so people want to keep consuming, we'll look into that, a few other things, the slop era of everything, because we're starting to really see the labors of that, and by labors I mean labors. So we'll see about that and a few other things when we get on the inside. Alright, so started this day off with hyperextensions, which were pretty good. But anyways, to the main subject matter at hand here, the four horsemen of the apocalypse, part 5. Overconsumption. So the main reason why I wanted to say or discuss overconsumption as the last one is because this one is kind of like the one that goes in between everything else, really. But overconsumption now is very, very easy and can start as young as ever, as long as somebody has a tablet in front of them. Honestly, it's very, very quick how easily somebody can consume on things, particularly things on the internet, but this isn't just that. I think that the phone helps make it so things are relatively easy, because you can overconsume it at any point, because of the fact that we have such ease to get anything at any point at any time. You don't really have to do that much in order to get into any of the vices that we've talked about before, or even access to it. I saw a video not that long ago where somebody used a 3D model from a video game to fake out one of the or age checks for a gambling website. It's not even that crazy. And certain gambling websites accept credit cards, which is insane, because that's even more of a next level overconsumption where you could just kind of even just keep going down a rabbit hole. You don't even have to be of age technically to do some of those things, which is insane. And that's the thing about it, is this, that the over consuming that starts either younger or whatever, whether it be something like food, drugs, pornography, gambling, whatever else is there, it starts relatively early when it comes down to it, and then they can branch off into so many things because the internet gives us so much access to literally anything. A person with enough wherewithal and honest to God want can find literally anything that they want on the internet for any price, at any time, at any place. It does not matter where they are, they can find it. And I know that people would say you can't buy drugs on the internet. They've been doing it for decades now at this point. And the issue is that companies have now made it so most things just doom scroll, and thus they will forever have you entrapped into whatever algorithm they have. It's getting to the point where even shopping is getting to that point where they're just installing or making the most doom scroll-esque like shopping experiences, so that way you just keep scrolling. I'm surprised Amazon still has pages at this point, because that's just amazing to me that they would even try to have any limiters like that, because personally I would think that they would have gotten rid of it by now. The thing is that realistically, technology, because it's not even just the smartphone but also just the internet in general, is great in a certain sense, but also terrible in the sense that we will overconsume and we have it at tips of our finger, really. Now the question is, what can we do to get rid of this? Now obviously we can't just get rid of the internet, because the internet is basically essential in 99% of the world's life at this point. We cannot get rid of it. It's our main mode of communication, and everything else, for the most part, it's just fucked if we try to get rid of it. So now the question becomes, what is there to do? And personally, there is probably going to be a pushback in all of the internet connected things. There is going to be some type of way or thing that people are going to push away from, because people want dumber things. They want simpler things. They don't want a smart TV that's always listening. They don't want a home thing that's always listening to them. They want just dumber things. But hopefully, and this is a hopeful that I can pray for, that maybe we can get to a certain point that we can get away from all the corporations that want to just keep listening to us, and hopefully can just get away into a simpler time where things aren't just trying to be thrown into our faces, and or to the point where we're just going to start getting advertisements in our dreams, because they're going to be sending brainwaves into our heads, because we need to spend, consume. And we're back. Welcome to the workout debriefing. Exercise is not filmed. None. Exercise is skipped. Also, none. Got everything in, thankfully, and it took fucking forever because there were a lot of people there, a lot of couples, which was interesting. But anyways, back to the main subject matter at hand here. The last of the four horsemen. Overconsumption. Now, the main reason why I feel like this is probably why this is part of the four, because it's not necessarily an industry but a thing, is because of the fact that I feel like a lot of issues that happen with today's society and the degradation of cultures is because we've come now to overconsume things, whether it be media or cell phone use or whatever, drugs or porn or alcohol or gambling. Anything along those lines where we're overdoing it makes it so that we end up getting to a point that makes us, I guess, just be able to be either entertained or be joyous, or just continue on either a downward spiral into something that makes it so we kind of ruin ourselves by over consuming it. I don't think there is anything that we can get away from that where, you know, you're not going to get some type of scars here or there from it. And I think no matter what you do and no matter how hard you try, I think it's human nature to want to over consume, because we as human nature have always had a scarcity mindset, and because of that we've been so afraid of losing things. But now that everything is so abundant and readily available, especially in the first world, we have to kind of deal with the consequences where shit is we might indulge in our whatever sensation a little too much, and thus makes things a little bit harder on ourselves at the end of the day because we're just overdoing it. And there's some ways we could combat this. Obviously, we can look at human psychology, the way that we actually do things, but realistically, the people that control these things don't want it to really change, really. I mean, oh no, are you saying the gambling houses in Las Vegas want to lose money? Are you shitting me? What, this corporation doesn't want to make money? They want to make people's lives better? No. It's all about the bottom dollar there. What do you mean there should be limits on who watches pornography? Impossible. We need to get them young so then that way they can consume it later on to the point where it becomes an addiction, and then they spend thousands of dollars on random women that are actually just Indians talking to them over a profile picture. But you see how the overconsumption of something, especially when it starts early, will later on ruin and or grasp someone's life in some way, shape, or form to the point where they are incapable of escaping from that hellhole. So that is why I'm always hesitant to overindulge in anything because of this. And I think that most people don't realize that they're overdoing it in a lot of stuff, whether it be something like of the many things I've said, or some of the things that are just not even inconsequential. Food, entertainment, things like that. Entertainment, as much as I like it, the issue with entertainment at the end of the day is that at some point you lose your original thought because your mind is so corroded by other things, and thus there you go. And thus that brings us to the idea of the slop content, which I think I'm gonna make an episode about in itself. But generally speaking, to the point where you aren't even necessarily being entertained, but you are, quote, killing time with whatever you're watching and not have any soul or brevity to it, because all it really is consumption-based content. Look at AI slop if you really want to, but we'll talk more about that on a different episode. But for now, I'll say this is also another one that I don't think is going to really be able to be changed. The way that companies have been able to infiltrate and basically assassinate any type of attention span or anything like that makes it so being outside of it is going to be a tough task. Really, you're gonna have to do it on your own, and doing it on your own is already half a battle on its own. And then you're gonna have the societal pressures around you to want to keep pushing the consume more all over the place. So it's a tough challenge, but it might be possible, but it's a lot of self-effort. So we'll have to wait and see how that one goes. Highly doubt a lot of people are gonna do it. Highly doubt a lot of people are gonna listen to this video anyway. But with that being said, though, tell me what you think in the comment section down below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about this one. This was more of it. This was the final chapter in the 4 Horsemen series. I am going to probably look into a few other things that are somewhat similar to this and go down a lot of these rabbit holes, because each rabbit hole has something that I want to talk about. I won't do it necessarily maybe in order, except for the slop one. I think slop is tomorrow, because I do want to discuss that. But with that being said, tell me your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video with anybody who may or may not like it. I will be back on tomorrow with a new video. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I will see you in the next one. Keep it heavy. Shit. Stay safe out there. Take care. Keep it heavy and stay cool. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.